Reported cases of sexual abuse in St. John's Archdiocese is an important chapter in the series of clerical abuse affairs that occurred in the dioceses of Canada. James Hickey affair. In September 1988, Father James Hickey pleaded guilty to 20 charges of sexual assault, gross indecency and indecent assault involving teenage boys while he was a parish priest on the Burin Peninsula. He spent 5 years in prison. Despite Hickey's criminal conviction, the Roman Catholic Church fought the victim's claims for compensation for over 20 years. In February 2009, the Supreme Court of Newfoundland and Labrador ruled that the Roman Catholic Church in St. John's was responsible, vicariously liable, for the sexual abuse of 8 former altar boys by disgraced priest, Reverend James Hickey. Mount Cashel orphanage scandal. In 1988, a scandal erupted over allegations of widespread abuse of children at Mount Cashel orphanage in Newfoundland. The religious order that ran the orphanage filed for bankruptcy in the face of numerous lawsuits. Since the Mount Cashel scandal erupted, a number of priests across the country have been accused of sexual abuse. In July 2020, the Court of Appeal for Newfoundland and Labrador unanimously reversed a 2018 Canadian Supreme ruling and ruled that the Archdiocese of St. John's was liable for the sexual abuse committed at the Mount Cashel orphanage in the 1950s and 1960s. Hughes Inquiry. The Hughes Inquiry was a Canadian Royal Commission which concluded that officials had transferred offenders and covered up the sexual abuse at Mount Cashel. It recommended that victims be compensated. Allegations against Bishop Leahy. In 1989, Father Kevin Malloy went to former St. John's Archbishop Alphonsus Ligayari Penny to report that a child had seen pornography at the home of a priest, Raymond Leahy. These allegations were recounted in 2009 when Bishop Leahy was subsequently arrested for separate allegations involving illicit pornography, cf. sexual abuse scandal in Antigonish Diocese. Resignation of Bishop Penny. Bishop Alphonsus Ligayari Penny resigned his position after a commission of inquiry, which he personally appointed, found that he was probably aware of sexual abuse of children by priests in his archdiocese. 1992 Guidelines from the CCCB. In 1992, the Canadian Catholic bishops responded by unveiling tough guidelines, calling for fairness and openness to all allegations, stressing the need to respect the jurisdiction of outside authorities, and recommending counseling and compassion for the victims. However, some assert that, the bishops' guidelines notwithstanding, the sexual abuse problems have not been adequately addressed. 2003 Supreme Court decision. In 2003, the Supreme Court of Canada ruled that the Roman Catholic Church is responsible, vicariously liable, for sexual abuse by its priests. Cf. Doe v. Bennett. Reverend Peter Power controversy. In July 2020, Reverend Peter Power, who was originally from the Archdiocese of Toronto, was charged with charges of sexual touching, sexual assault and committing an indecent act involving 2 teenage boys, aged 18 and 16 years old, at a residence in a small Newfoundland community earlier in the year. Though officially retired, Power was still occasionally active in Catholic ministry when he relocated to Newfoundland. See also: child sexual abuse, religious abuse, sexual misconduct, spiritual abuse. References